and we're here with Marcus Mariota. And Marcus, very important question first. Next week, so a week from Saturday, we have Oregon-Fresno State. So you and Derek have had to have some sort of conversation about that game, right?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Little jabs here and there. We're excited. It's always fun. I'm glad college football is back and these games are going again, and can't wait to watch it.
You know, you look at the quarterback room in general, right? You look at you and Derek and Nate, and so many of the things that we saw, we've seen on social media over the past years, that the Raiders have to have the nicest quarterback room in the NFL. What's that dynamic like for when you guys are all in the group together?
It's great. It's great. And to be in a room with those guys, I feel like I learn so much every single day. And it's fun. We have a blast. But at the same time, a good quarterback room that's supportive is so important. And we do everything we can to help Derek out.
You talk about that support and how Derek is the starting quarterback and you and Nate are there to kind of assist him and get him ready to go. But what does that assistant support really look like on a day-to-day basis?
It comes down to talking about what we see, whether it's on tape or when we're out here on the field. On top of that, it's just kind of supporting, hey, if we see something that a receiver does that maybe he didn't see, just communicating with everybody, making sure we're all on the same page.
And you look at the quarterback position, and whether it's Pop Warner, high school, college, whatever it is, it's all about leadership, right? And I think that you look at the room here and you guys all have to be asked to lead, but how does the way that you lead, how is that different from Derek as the starting quarterback, right? But you and Nate are also asked to step in and be leaders of this team as well. How do you kind of find that kind of sweet spot?
Well, I think we're just an extension of Derek, and he does a great job. I think he's probably one of the best I've been around of communicating and making sure everybody's just kind of on the same sheet of music, but we're just an extension of that. We just try to make sure that we're seeing everything clearly, making sure everybody's kind of seeing everything the same way. And then from there, it's just kind of being the rah-rah guys and being the hype guy and making sure that when Sunday rolls around, everybody's full of confidence and they can just go out there and play.
You and I were talking before we started rolling that, the past year and a half has been such a unique experience. So this is the first time that we've ever met in person, even though you signed here, 16 months ago.
Right.
But going back to what brought you here initially, you come out of Tennessee and you obviously have a lot of places you can go. You have options for really the first time in your professional career. What about this spot? What about Vegas and working with John and Derek? Really, ultimately, how do you land here?
I felt with this staff, with this quarterback room, that I could just become the best of my abilities. And I've really learned a lot. I've really absorbed a lot over the last couple of years. And to just be around these guys, to see the high level of play from Derek has been, for me, just a learning experience. And then from there, Vegas, it's easy, right? For me, it's the ninth island. Reminds me a lot of home. It's nice to be back on the West Coast. And it's been quite an enjoyable experience. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be a part of this team and this organization.
2020 was a year not short on challenges for anyone, right? Whether you're Marcus Mariota, me, or just the guy, working the gas station on the street, it was a really tough year for so many people. But when you come into this situation, just as a football player, how hard was it to feel like you're getting up to speed, to feel like you're learning in the midst of a global pandemic?
Well, it's part of the journey,
yeah.
And that's kind of how I looked at it. It was a different experience. It was challenging at times, but at the same time, to be able to go through that, I feel like has really created a foundation for me and really for a lot of guys that came in for their first year here. So, it was a difficult time for a lot of people, but I think now that we're kind of coming on the other side of it, people can look back and just say, we got through that adversity, we got through those challenges, and it's going to ultimately make us better in the end.
The guys that I really think about, and I thought about them a lot last year, were the guys like Henry and Brian, or dudes who were in college 6 months previous, and then all of a sudden you're asked to hey, you got to be an NFL player in 90 days. I can't even imagine what that situation is like for them, trying to take that next step professionally while also dealing with everything that's going on outside in the real world.
Yeah, and I think a lot of credit goes to them. It is not easy to walk into a building with those types of expectations, and then on top of it, have to learn a whole new system, be in a whole new city, and you have a worldwide pandemic going on. So I do think those guys deserve a lot of credit for how they handled that situation. And it's been fun. It's been fun to see these guys grow. I think they've made a bunch of plays in training camp, and I'm excited to see what they can do this year.
I was listening to we were talking about this earlier too. I listened to that podcast you did with Rob Mosley. I listened to it last week without knowing that we were going to get you. But I think one thing that I really took away from that is I thought you were really open and honest about everything you kind of learned from the Tennessee experience, and just as a human being, not a football player,
yep.
But learning and kind of taking what you learned onto this next chapter. So when you look at the Marcus Mariota now, what do you think the biggest difference is from you sitting here today than say 24 months ago?
Well, I look at it and I've learned a lot in terms of the business standpoint, but at the same time, I think I just learned about being myself. I think so much of the expectations that I had in Tennessee kind of carved out somebody that I didn't want to be and somebody that I didn't really recognize. And to be able to see that now from a different vantage point and a different perspective, and to come here and just enjoy football again, enjoy being on the field, having fun with these guys, has made my life just a whole lot happier and just a lot more enjoyable. So, you know, taking that experience, I truly understand that was kind of part of my journey. Everyone's journey is a little different, and I can use that as I go forward, and we'll see what happens with my career.
You talk about the group of guys here, and you know, I know it's been funky for us. We're still trying to learn the new faces and everything, but you get the vibe that this is like a really good group. And one of the things that I'm always really proud of when I talk about the roster is there's so many guys that are so active in the community, that have their foundations, that have the things off the field that are really important to them. And you certainly fall into that category too. So what was kind of the mindset, the reason that you got motivated off the ground?
Well, thank you for the plug.
Absolutely, shameless plug alert, man. That's what I'm here for.
I appreciate that. No, Motivate has been something that's been in the works for a long time. And, you know, my family and I were able to create this foundation really after my first year. And to be able to provide and to make a difference in the community is so special to us. I think that's truly what's rewarding. We've done a lot of things, whether it's, you know, back to school backpacks or taking kids to games, but ultimately in the end, I think the goal for Motivate is just to fill a void as a resource. So many kids, you know, don't necessarily have the things that allow them to be the best that they can be, and Motivate hopefully can fill that void and give them what they want and give them what they need. And it's truly a gift. I think every single day, you know, my family and I, we're just so grateful that we have that, because in the end, you know, the legacy, everything, football aside, I think ultimately in the end, your legacy is going to be how you treat people and how you make a difference in the community. And Motivate's been a true gift, and I'm excited to see it as it continues to grow. You
know, I asked Waller this a couple weeks ago when we were talking to him just about kind of the future of his foundation and what really, you know, where he wants it to be in 10 years. So I'll see the same thing. Like when you're done playing, you know, hopefully a really long time from now, and you look at the state of the foundation, like what do you want the foundation really to be?
Ultimately, I would truly love to see a Motivate Center where kids can go, they can get tutoring, you know, they can get help on college essays or, you know, applying for schools, you know, just applying for scholarships. Because ultimately in the end, if you can kind of give these kids the ability to go and seek a higher education, to learn more about themselves, come back and implement that into our community, I mean, the sky's the limit for the people around us. So I would love to see a Motivate Learning Center. I would love to see, you know, a Motivate just for homeless. We talk about job interviews and all those kinds of things, just helping people, and ultimately in the end. And you know, it's just trying to do whatever we can to make a difference, and it's fun to see where it'll go.
Driving up here with Marcus Mariota. And Marcus, I gotta ask, man, what's the best piece of Oregon memorabilia that you still have with you? You can't include the Heisman, right?
Oh gosh, it's got to be the Jays.
Oh, okay.
I've got the 3s, I got the 4s, I got the 5s. You know, Tinker and shout out to all those guys and Nike, they just put it out for us, and that was truly a gift to be a part of at Oregon. The amount of gear and swag that we got was ridiculous, and I still treasure a lot of those things that I got while I was at Oregon.
So I gotta ask, where's the Heisman then?
The Heisman is currently with my parents. I keep it back home in Hawaii, and what's cool about it is, you know, when you win the Heisman, you get 2. So the school gets 1 and we get 1, a personal one, and to be able to keep it with my family is truly important. But at the same time, I get to go to school and see a version of it as well, and that is really cool. And it's a token to all the guys that were part of that journey and that run.
Yeah, probably a pretty nice talking piece for your parents when they have people come over like, oh, what's that? Like, I like the couch, and is that the Heisman there? Just sitting on
good
it?
icebreaker,
yeah.
Right?
Well, hey man, this is a lot of fun. I'm glad we finally got to meet in person. I appreciate
Pleasure.
you taking the time, especially during the craziness of the preseason. So stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll catch up with you soon, all right, man?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.